Hello and welcome. My name is David Mather. I'm the Assistant Fire Chief for the City of Amesbury Fire Department. And I'm here to share some helpful guidelines brought forth by the CDC to help you get your employees safely back to work. You may ask, why am I giving you this talk and lecture? My background is in emergency medicine. I have responded as an emergency response worker with the federal government to help with the COVID crisis for the past 8 weeks. I'm also a member of the state's hazardous materials response team in the state of Massachusetts. I also serve as a subject matter expert in hazmat for the Center for Disaster Medicine at the Massachusetts General Hospital. With that being said, our guidelines are ever evolving, and the information that we're going to talk about today is currently listed with the CDC. You must keep checking online as resources and these documents may be updated and changed. But as of right now, this is what the current information is. So we talk about coming to work and how do we keep ourselves safe? Well, one of the biggest things we can do right now is wear one of these. If we can't maintain social distance of 6 feet or greater, we should be wearing a cloth face mask. Now you ask, what does a cloth face mask do for me? Well, what it does is it keeps our germs, our bugs to ourselves. It gets trapped in the mask and it just doesn't protrude out from past the mask. Now these masks won't protect you from others if you're in close contact and they're not wearing their own mask. So it is important that if you are going to have close contact of a significant contact time of 10 minutes or more, that both people need to be wearing a mask, or however many people. But we always suggest social distancing of 6 feet or more. In some businesses that may be a little hard to do, and we've had to arrange things in the city a little differently to ensure that we can maintain our 6 feet distance when a person comes to work. So these are some of the things that you should think about. Now you'll see on TV, you'll see in some professions that people will wear what's called an N95 respirator. And I say the word respirator because that's what it is. It is not a mask per se as this, it's a respirator, and you need to be fit tested for it. If you're not fit tested for it, you may have chosen the wrong size and it may not be working for you the way you think. So we need to make sure that if we do need to wear an N95 mask for our job, and that's a job where you may be producing an aerosolizing substance from a patient if you're a healthcare worker, or be working in an industry that requires you to wear an N95. Other than that, if you're not in those industries, a cloth mask will work just fine. So once we've got past the mask, a lot of people will say, well, what about gloves? Well, gloves are a means to put on your hands, but what we've sometimes failed to remember is as we touch things with our gloves now are potentially have virus on them. So if we touch anything on our body, if we reach in for our cell phone, if we adjust our mask, if we touch our hair and we're using gloves, we think, well, I had gloves on, I'm okay. Well, no, the gloves now have possibly virus on it, and you've just put it up on your body. So the recommendation is to not wear gloves. Why? Because I can touch a hard surface, I can touch a surface, and as long as I wash my hands, I'm not going to transfer it to my face. Now, we're worried about our face. Why? Because the virus is transmitted into the body through mucosa. That's in your eyes, your nose, your mouth. That's how the virus gets into our body. So we want to make sure that we avoid at all times touching our face right now. And if we do have an itch, we want to make sure that we use a hand sanitizer to wash our hands if we've touched other surfaces, and then, and only then, is it okay to rub your nose or your eyes. Now with hand sanitizing, we use it a lot, but it doesn't do the greatest job. If you have the availability of a hot water sink or warm water and sink with soap, the actions of the soap, the actions of the scrubbing, and the actions of being able to wash the virus away does a much better job. And you tend to wash your hands more thoroughly. You get your wrist, you get both sides of your hands in between your fingers. So you need to do that for approximately 20 seconds. So any chance that you get to wash your hands, that's the best form of disinfecting your hands. Now, if you're in a workspace, your desk, your area that you are going to sit at for most of the day, you can disinfect using a wipe or a spray, and you can wipe it down. It is important to read on the back of your chosen wipes or your spray to look for what's called a dwell time. A dwell time is the amount of time this must stay on a surface, stay wet, in order to kill any viruses that are on there. So each manufacturer is a little different. You're going to want to read it, and you're going to want to make sure that when you put it on, you don't wipe it away, you let it stay wet. So first thing in the morning when you come to your desk, you wipe down your desk, make sure it's all disinfected, and as long as nobody else is at your desk is free for the most part of any type of contaminants. If you've left for lunch and somebody could have come by and touched your desk, you need to re-clean. If you're going to visit another office in another part of the building or another adjoining office, be considerate. Let them know you're going to stop by. Put on your mask. Tell them I'm going to stop by so they have a chance to put on their mask. Refrain from touching things in the office unless you need to for your job. And then help either wipe down the surfaces that you touched, you sat, the arm of the chair you sat in, just as a courtesy before you leave. And then once you've exited the office, you can go back into yours and you are not around anybody else, you may take your mask back off. It is important that when you touch your mask, you touch it by either the strings or the ear loops and not touching the front or the inside. This will keep anything that's on the outside from getting onto the inside and you inhaling it the next time you put it on. These masks are also washable, so it's good to have a few masks so you can wash them and have a fresh mask daily if that's available to you. If you work in an area where you can spray down tools, your station, wherever you happen to be working, that is not going to disrupt the electrical or the mechanical process, and that will have to be industry specific of where you can disinfect your area, that is also a recommended practice. All the things that we've talked about today can be found on the CDC's website. So you can read in depth, you can make posters, you can post it amongst your employees in the break room and have them readily available. Here in the city, we're also taking people's temperatures when they show up to work. We're using right now a non-touch infrared FDA approved temperature gun, and as simple as putting it up to the forehead and then reading the temperature, and it will tell you the temperature. These are a screening tool only, they're not diagnostic, but it will tell you if you have a fever. We're also having our employees fill out a checklist to ask them if they have a fever, if they feel feverish, if they have a cough, a sore throat, nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, or any difficulty breathing or shortness of breath. It is also very important to let your employees know that if they do not feel well and they feel feverish or they have a cough or any of these symptoms, please do not come into work. Call. Let your employer know, I don't feel well. That way it reduces the risk of transmitting any type of virus within the building. If you come into the building and you do have a temperature monitoring station, you do find out that you have a fever, please exit the building and then call your supervisor or your manager to let them know that you have a fever. And the policy of whatever company can take over at that point. I hope all these suggestions and guidances that we've talked about from the CDC are helpful in helping you keep your employees safe and keep your businesses operating. Thank you very much.